Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to expose something that hides in plain sight. The 8 most common traits of narcissistic women. On the surface, they seem confident, magnetic, even irresistibly charming. But beneath that polished exterior lives a deep emotional void. Understanding these traits isn't about judging. It's about protecting yourself. Because once you learn to recognize them, you'll never see manipulation the same way again. Trait 1. Charm as a weapon. At first, she's captivating. Her presence lights up every room. She knows exactly what to say, how to smile, how to make you feel like the only person who matters. But this isn't genuine warmth, it's strategic seduction. She studies your reactions like a chess player reading the board. That charm isn't connection, it's control, carefully disguised as chemistry. Her charm always comes with a hook. The moment she feels your admiration, she files it away like currency. She'll use it later, to persuade, to guilt, to twist situations in her favor. That's the danger of her allure. It's not built on authenticity, but on observation. She becomes who you want her to be until she's sure she owns your attention. Then, slowly, the mask begins to slip. Trait 2. A bottomless need for validation. Narcissistic women feed on attention the way lungs need air. Compliments aren't appreciation, they're oxygen. Without constant affirmation, her self-image starts to collapse. She'll post, perform, and provoke, anything to keep admiration flowing. If the attention fades, she feels like she's disappearing. That's why peace never lasts long around her. The irony is that no amount of praise ever fills the emptiness inside her. You can tell her she's brilliant, beautiful, extraordinary. And minutes later, she's doubting herself again. That's why she constantly creates drama. Emotional chaos gives her the reassurance that she still matters. Your reaction becomes her proof of existence. Without it, she feels invisible. Trait 3. The illusion of empathy. She knows how to look compassionate, the right tone, the right words, even tears on command. But empathy requires sincerity, and hers stops the moment the spotlight shifts. She's interested in your pain only as long as it serves her narrative. Once she's gotten sympathy, attention, or advantage, your suffering becomes inconvenient noise. When you're hurting, she might hold your hand, but her mind is somewhere else, calculating, evaluating, deciding how your weakness can benefit her later. Her comfort is performance, not connection. It feels real because you want to believe it's real. And that has how she keeps you trapped, by offering counterfeit compassion that feels authentic in the moment. Trait 4. Emotional manipulation. This is her favorite art form. She twists words, rewrites conversations, and uses guilt like a paintbrush to color every interaction. If you confront her, she'll deny, deflect, or play the victim. She doesn't argue to find truth, she argues to win. Her goal is never resolution. It's domination of the emotional space. You'll notice how the argument always ends with you apologizing, even when you did nothing wrong. That's the signature of manipulation. She controls the emotional tempo until you start questioning your own reality. Over time, you lose confidence in your instincts. That's exactly where she wants you, disoriented, compliant, and dependent on her approval to feel sane. Trait 5. A hidden superiority complex. Beneath her charm and insecurity lies a quiet arrogance. She genuinely believes she deserves more attention, more forgiveness, more understanding. Rules that apply to others don't apply to her. When she succeeds, it's proof of her greatness. When she fails, it's always someone else's fault. In her world, accountability is for ordinary people, and she doesn't see herself as ordinary. Her superiority isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle, refined, and polished. She might pretend to be humble, but the clues are always there. The faint smirk when someone else stumbles. The quick shift in tone when the spotlight moves away. In her mind, equality feels unnatural. She needs to feel just a little smarter, more attractive, more evolved than everyone else. Superiority, to her, isn't confidence. It's oxygen. Trait 6. Jealousy and competition. A narcissistic woman can turn any relationship into a silent contest. If someone gets praise, she feels attacked. If someone shines, she feels overshadowed. Compliment another woman in her presence, and you'll feel the temperature drop instantly. Her mind doesn't see connection. It sees hierarchy. Love, friendship, even family. Everything becomes a game of comparison. Her jealousy runs deep, but she hides it behind charm. She'll praise others publicly, but privately tear them apart. To her, admiration is a currency to control others. She gives it sparingly, and only when it benefits her image. She can't stand seeing anyone genuinely happy, especially if that happiness isn't connected to her. Joy that exists beyond her influence feels like betrayal. Trait 7. Emotional coldness. At first she seems warm, affectionate, deeply attentive, but her emotions are transactional. She gives only to get. Once she's secured your loyalty, her warmth fades like morning fog. Suddenly, you're met with detachment, sarcasm, or even silence. That coldness isn't random. It's punishment. It's how she reminds you that love, in her world, is conditional. You'll feel the shift before you can explain it. The same woman who once adored you now feels distant, uninterested. You'll try harder, give more, explain yourself endlessly. And that's exactly what she wants. Your confusion feeds her control. Every ounce of effort you spend chasing her warmth reinforces her power. And the colder she becomes, the more desperate you grow. It's a cycle she's perfected. Trait 8. Control disguised as care. Perhaps her most dangerous trait. She'll tell you she only wants what's best for you. Where you go, who you talk to, how you live. It sounds like concern, but it's actually containment. Her care always comes with invisible strings. She frames control as love so skillfully that you might even thank her for it. That's the brilliance of her manipulation. You confuse domination for devotion. Her control extends into every corner of life. She'll question your choices, undermine your confidence, and slowly replace your independence with her approval. You'll think you're building a partnership, but in reality, you're surrendering your freedom piece by piece. What begins as, "I just want to help you," eventually becomes, "I know what's best for you." And before you realize it, your autonomy belongs to her. When you finally resist that control, you'll see a side of her that few ever witness, rage mixed with fear. To her, defiance feels like betrayal. The same woman who once adored you will turn cold, cruel, and cutting. She'll accuse you of being selfish or ungrateful. But beneath her fury lies panic. Losing control over you means losing control over her image, and that's something she can't tolerate. If you stand firm, she may shift tactics, suddenly apologizing, reminiscing, even acting vulnerable. But this isn't remorse, it's strategy. Narcissistic women know how to mimic sincerity when it serves them. The tears, the confessions, the soft voice, all of it designed to pull you back into orbit. It's not about reconciliation. It's about restoring her dominance. Each of these traits connects to one core truth. Everything revolves around perception. For her, image is identity. She doesn't just want to be loved, she wants to be worshipped. And when that worship stops, she unravels. Beneath all the power, glamour, and control lies something tragically fragile. A woman terrified of being ordinary, unseen, or, worst of all, truly known. When you combine all these traits, charm, manipulation, superiority, control, what you get isn't just a difficult personality, but a dangerous emotional pattern. It's a cycle that begins with admiration and ends with exhaustion. At first, she feels like a dream come true, someone who understands you better than anyone. But soon, you realize it's not understanding. It's surveillance. She wasn't connecting with you. She was studying you. This is how she crafts emotional dependency. Every act of kindness in the beginning was an investment, every compliment a hook. By the time the mask slips, you're too entangled to walk away easily. You'll remember the early affection and think, maybe she'll go back to that. But that version never really existed. It was a carefully designed illusion, the bait that drew you in. When the cycle of control begins, it's subtle. You start making small compromises, dismissing red flags, convincing yourself that her intensity is just passion. But over time, your world starts to shrink. Your opinions matter less, your freedom narrows, and your peace of mind becomes her possession. The control doesn't happen overnight. It happens through 1,000 tiny emotional transactions. One of the most painful realities is how quickly she can switch personas. The same woman who once held your face tenderly can turn into someone unrecognizable, cold, dismissive, or mocking. Her empathy disappears the moment it's inconvenient. That emotional whiplash leaves you questioning everything, and that's the point. Confusion is her most reliable weapon. It keeps you off balance, always guessing, always chasing. You may notice how she thrives in drama. Peace feels unnatural to her because it doesn't feed her ego. Conflict gives her energy. Tension gives her control. If things are calm too long, she'll manufacture chaos. A misunderstanding, a subtle insult, an argument over nothing. She's addicted to emotional spikes because they make her feel alive. Calm, to her, feels like invisibility. When confronted with accountability, she'll twist reality like a magician. Facts become opinions, timelines blur, and your memory suddenly seems unreliable. This gaslighting isn't just manipulation, it's survival. Admitting fault would shatter her self-image, so she rewrites the truth until she believes her own version. That's why arguing with her feels like shouting into fog. Logic doesn't exist in her reality. Behind her confidence lies deep insecurity. Every grand gesture, every public display of perfection, is built to cover an internal void she cannot face. She envies anyone who possesses the quiet confidence she pretends to have. You'll notice how she often mirrors others, adopting their tone, style, or opinions until she feels threatened. Then she discards them and starts again. Her identity is a collection of borrowed reflections. Her relationships rarely last because her love is conditional. Once you stop serving her emotional needs, you become disposable. But she rarely ends things cleanly. Instead, she creates confusion. Half goodbyes, silent treatments, sudden reappearances. It's her way of keeping the door slightly open, ensuring that she can return whenever she needs a new supply of validation. She doesn't love, she leases affection. Even when she moves on, she doesn't truly let go. She might still check your social media, ask about you through others, or insert herself indirectly into your life. Not because she misses you, but because she needs to know you're still affected. To a narcissistic woman, emotional detachment from her feels like defeat. Your indifference is her greatest humiliation, and her strongest motivation to reappear. The scariest part? She believes her own lies. The stories she tells about you, about herself, about what happened. She repeats them until they feel true. It's not always conscious deception. Sometimes it's self-preservation. Her entire reality depends on never being the villain, so she becomes the eternal victim, rewriting every chapter where her behavior caused pain. And as long as she believes it, she never has to change. As time passes, her carefully built image begins to crack. The performance that once came easily now requires effort. Every interaction feels like a scene she has to control. Every smile, another layer of armor. The weight of maintaining perfection starts to crush her. Yet she can't stop, because stopping means exposure. Admitting her flaws feels like emotional death, so she doubles down, even when the mask is slipping. The longer she lives behind that mask, the more detached she becomes from reality. Authentic emotion feels foreign to her. When others cry, she watches blankly. When they laugh, she imitates the sound. It is not that she doesn't know what feelings are. She's just forgotten how to experience them honestly. Every emotion is filtered through calculation. What does this get me? Her humanity becomes performance art. You'll often find her surrounded by people, but none of them truly know her. She collects admirers, not friends. Each person serves a role. The listener, the admirer, the rescuer, the scapegoat. It's not companionship she seeks, it's audience. When someone stops clapping, she replaces them. Loyalty is a one-way street. She demands it, but never returns it. Her relationships exist to orbit her ego. Eventually, her patterns catch up. The stories she tells begin to contradict. The people she's used start comparing notes, and her web of control begins to unravel. When exposed, she'll shift immediately into victim mode. Tears, denial, accusations. She'll say, "You misunderstood me," or "Everyone's against me." To her, being caught isn't shameful. It's just another scene that requires acting. Her fear of exposure drives her to preemptively attack. She'll start smear campaigns, twist narratives, and recruit sympathizers before the truth reaches them. This defensive aggression is her shield. She believes that as long as she controls the story, she can't lose. But over time, her lies consume her. She becomes trapped in the same illusions she created to protect herself from accountability. You may notice her moods shift like weather. Elation 1 hour, rage the next. These fluctuations aren't random. They're symptoms of inner chaos. Her identity depends on constant reinforcement, and when that supply weakens, she collapses internally. What you're seeing isn't confidence cracking. It's emptiness surfacing. Beneath all the power lies an emotional vacuum, one she spent her entire life trying to fill. If she loses someone who truly loved her, the loss doesn't hit like grief. It hits like withdrawal. She misses not the person, but the feeling of being needed, admired, adored. That's why she might return, not with love, but with charm disguised as closure. Her "I miss you" isn't about reconnection, it's about reassurance. She's not seeking intimacy. She's seeking evidence that her power still exists. Over time, these traits begin to hollow her out. The admiration feels emptier, the victories shorter. She senses people drifting away, though she'll never admit why. To protect herself, she leans harder into control, isolating, criticizing, or reinventing her image again. But the more she reinvents, the less real she feels. Every new mask brings temporary relief, but it also buries her authenticity deeper underground. Eventually, she starts to sense that people no longer believe her stories. The charm that once hypnotized others loses its magic. Some still play along out of fear or politeness, but she can feel the difference. The applause sounds forced. And for a narcissist, that's the beginning of unraveling. Not because she lost love, but because she lost control of perception. To her, that's worse than heartbreak. In the quiet moments, when the crowd is gone and the mask feels heavy, something inside her begins to ache. It's not guilt exactly. It's recognition. She realizes that despite all the admiration, she's alone. She built a world where everyone loves the image of her, but no one knows her soul. That emptiness is her shadow, following her into every room, whispering the truth she'll never say aloud. You've fooled everyone but yourself. When her mask finally begins to crumble, she faces a choice: confront the truth or double down on denial. Most choose denial. Admitting fault would mean dismantling the entire identity she's built, brick by fragile brick. So she blames others, reinvents herself, and starts the cycle again with someone new. It's not growth, it's escape. But every escape makes her world smaller, lonelier, and harder to live in. For the people who once loved her, the ending feels surreal. You're left wondering if any of it was ever real. The laughter, the affection, the long conversations, all of it feels like a performance in hindsight. But here's the truth. She did feel something. It just wasn't what you felt. Her emotions were filtered through need, not love. Her version of connection was never about sharing, it was about taking. You might still find yourself missing her. That's the dangerous part. Narcissistic women are unforgettable, not because they gave you love, but because they took it so completely. The emotional intensity leaves a mark that lingers long after they're gone. But remember, what you miss isn't the reality, it's the illusion. You fell in love with a reflection, not the person behind it. And over time, you begin to heal. You stop replaying the past, stop trying to decode her contradictions. That's when she senses your peace, and that's when she often returns. The message might be simple: I've been thinking about you. But beneath those words lies the same motive as always: control. She's not reaching out because she's changed. She's reaching out because you have. Your calm threatens her chaos. When she realizes her old tricks no longer work, something shifts. You'll see confusion flicker behind her eyes. She'll try to provoke emotion, anger, guilt, sympathy, anything to pull you back into the dance. But when you respond with silence, she feels it like a wound. For the first time, she's facing a version of you she can't manipulate. That moment is her true defeat. Not your absence, but your indifference. As you move forward, you begin to see the pattern for what it is. Not personal, but pathological. Her behavior wasn't born of love or hate, but fear. Fear of vulnerability. Fear of rejection. Fear of being ordinary. Narcissistic women wear power like armor because inside they feel fragile. Understanding that doesn't excuse the harm they caused, but it does free you from carrying their pain as your own. With distance comes clarity. You start to notice how peace feels, quiet, stable, unhurried. There's no walking on eggshells, no emotional guessing games. That peace feels foreign at first, almost empty, because chaos used to be your normal. But slowly, it becomes your new baseline. And once you taste that kind of calm, you realize how draining her world truly was. She, meanwhile, keeps searching for her next reflection. A new admirer, a new audience, a new stage. But no matter how many times she starts over, the story ends the same. Temporary admiration, followed by eventual exposure. Her tragedy is that she keeps rewriting the same script, hoping for a different ending. But the problem isn't the cast, it's the role she refuses to stop playing. If you've ever been caught in her orbit, know this. Surviving her doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. You've seen the illusion up close and lived to tell the truth. The experience might have broken you for a while, but it also rebuilt you with clarity. You now recognize manipulation not as mystery, but as a pattern, and that awareness is your greatest protection. So as we close this chapter, remember, understanding narcissistic women isn't about hate, it's about healing. Their traits may be hidden behind charm and beauty, but once you learn the signs, you take back your power. You can choose peace over chaos, truth over illusion, and authenticity over performance. Because real love doesn't demand you shrink to fit someone else's fantasy. It allows you to grow freely in your own light.